All right, welcome to VMware Explore 2024, Day 3. John, general session yesterday was pretty good. Did you see it?
It was good, and I love kind of, you can tell some things are scripted. Some things you actually do have some general kind of, ad hoc behavior, if we will, some good jokes. But I do like that, it feels very practical. It's not just all, seeing if we can say the word AI 40 times to make a stock go up. So I feel like there actually was some substance to AI. We're getting beyond that part of the hype curve.
Yeah, I was excited as soon as I was waiting for Hawk to come on stage as soon as the general session started. And who comes out? But our guest, Chris Wolf. Chris, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here again.
Yeah, so Chris, you've been a pretty busy man, focusing on being the head of AI for all of VMware by Broadcom. But how was the general session for you being up there?
It was great. I mean, it's always good. I mean, we showed a lot of tech, right? I mean, it was really, I think, exciting. I think for folks to see like how far we've moved.
Oh yeah.
And also, I think the value of services that we've been building for almost 20 years, such as DRS, and how relevant it is to AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were talking to you last year when we announced private AI for the first time, and it was all the buzz last year. And I know ever since, every conversation we have with customers is there's an AI in the conversation somewhere. It seems like everybody is looking how they can take advantage of AI, but the infrastructure part is still difficult for them, trying to figure out how that's going to work out. And so I think the story is just fantastic. We've done extensive interviews on Private AI Foundation with NVIDIA, which is a great solution. And we also got to see your session with Dilpreet, which I thought was fantastic. The demos were great. So tell me a little bit about what's changed since last year to now with private AI.
Yeah, I think, in a year, probably the biggest thing is last May, just this past May, we went generally available with Private AI Foundation with NVIDIA. We've seen a tremendous amount of customer enthusiasm around it, and it's been the fastest growing product I've ever been associated with in my career. Second fastest, right? ESXi is still number one, right? For sure. But I didn't work at VMware at that time, right? I was did a lot of consulting work and those kind of things. But so in the past year, we shipped the product. We've done a ton of R&D around it, and even with what we have today, let me just start there first, because like the aha we've had is we knew we were going to pick up some customers that are looking to do generative AI and different things, but where we made some wrong assumptions actually was we thought it'd be a little bit of time for the customers that have been running AI on bare metal for years would want to use Private AI Foundation with NVIDIA. We were wrong, because they really struggle at doing resource management at scale. It's a hard problem. There's not really good tooling on the bare metal clusters. It's not easy to do scheduled maintenance. There's a lot of challenges operating this. And then they're wasting GPUs because they can't effectively partition them, memory networks, like all the things. So that's been that's definitely been a surprise. And then, as you guys seen, we could talk about it here. We've kind of unveiled really all of the things that we've been building that have been on our roadmap.
It is interesting that we're able to port those skills we have from, efficient operations on compute over to GPU. What are the things that have mapped the easiest, and what have been some of the harder challenges there?
It's compute, memory, network, storage, right? So you can say in that sense, okay, not bad. However, there's more nuance now. Like customers are trying to figure out, like, even for an inference workload, can I run this on CPUs? Can I run it on GPUs? Like, do I need the GPU for this? Yes or no, right? I mean, that's part of the challenge. The other part is the GPUs include memory. So I have another layer of memory partitioning that I have to think about, right? So that's one of the things that we had built in now to Cloud Foundation, is being able to do vGPU reservations where we're setting aside blocks. So it's this GPU profile with this amount of memory. So that's a new wrinkle that you didn't have before. And the other thing that I would say that's different is we're no longer in the game of like N+1 failover. Right? You can't do that with GPUs because you want to use every ounce of the GPU capacity you have. So it's caused us to entirely rethink high availability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reserve capacity, the whole idea behind HA in general, as you said, you don't want to just take a whole GPU and just have it as a spare tire.
So it's forced us to do really go deep in terms of VM preemption.
Yeah,
and that's where we're at now. So you can have preemptible VMs, or not. Well, what's coming? Let me be clear. Preemptible VMs and VM classes. So my data science or research-oriented VMs, I can shut them down if I need capacity for like a production inference server.
Oh, okay.
That it's interesting setting that prioritization, because I feel like the early days on the compute side, we all learned how to set limits and use the DRS to the extreme, and then eventually, regular x86, AMD64 compute became cheaper, and we just started kind of pulling it, established some. Yeah, we started looking at workloads as common pools or tiers, but it sounds like there's still a lot of segmentation on the GPU side, and that cost is still worth that segmentation.
There's a ton of segmentation. It's not easy to do interop, so you have to be very intentional with the applications that you're using, and how you're thinking about like that whole story, because there's different lower level standards. Intel with like one API, AMD with Broadcom, you have NVIDIA with their CUDA oriented stack.
This feels like 5D chess with all of the different accelerators and trying to balance workloads against them and set priority. But it also sounds like the architects out there are going to have to think like an economist, honestly, and speak like an accountant in terms of how they configure this stuff.
Yeah, and that's why there's so much value in what we do, because we're able to at least orchestrate across the capacity, and that's really our roadmap, is ensuring not just like the intelligent allocation of capacity, but also making sure we can be ready when our customers are looking for more on the interop side too.
Yeah. So have you been talking to customers about the Intelligent Assist? I saw the demos and I thought that was fantastic, and certainly working with the chatbot and dropping the content in, it seems pretty easy on the demos, but what have you heard from folks?
Yeah, people love it. And we've been using this, even talking with customers, because for every organization, typically you have some type of contact center customer service use case, regardless of vertical, right? Everybody has these types of things and needing to get people access to information more efficiently. So what we've been able to share is exactly how we're doing it. Like, we'll share our entire architecture, the services we're using, the foundation models that we've tried, all of our techniques with our customers, so they can get their first customer service app up and running. So this is technology we've been building now for the last couple of years. It is very mature. It's really smart in terms of your VCF support areas. vSAN is actually brilliant. I'll put this up against any VCDX when it comes to vSAN, because the tool is just really that smart in terms of the recommendations and figuring things out. But you're going to see us start to move this forward. Our next phase will be making this available to some of our disti partners who are doing level 1 and level 2 support, and then expect it into product sometime after that. So we're making good. We're passing our milestones. It's going really well. But this is AI. We want to make sure it is rock solid before we're exposing it to the masses, but we're making great progress.
Is there any truth to the rumor that Intelligent Assist uses WilliamLamb.com for its source of truth?
No, that's the truth, right? For support, you start at William's blog, and then maybe you're going over to the KBs after that, right? So but hey, you know what? It's the funny thing is we scrape a lot of data sources, including web, and I'll have to check, but there's probably some William blog articles already being fed to the model.
Yeah.
It's it eases the pain of having someone who's blogged for a long time, Googling an error and finding a blog you wrote a year ago and you don't remember writing. I'm like, what was I doing? But
no, that's true. It's like, I know I solved this and I know I published it, so let me find what I did, because I don't remember.
To everyone out in the community there, you should start blogging, and just anytime you're into something novel, write it down so you can use Google to find it later. But I do like this idea though of like this chat bot for support kind of being the hello world application of AI, of like, this is the first place to start for a lot of customers, and us documenting how the customer can get there for themselves is I think powerful.
It's a great use case because you can measure the business value. Like, I can see the delta of the tickets my support techs closed, like before and after using the tool.
And the scraping you mentioned, how do we handle because obviously information changes constantly, and so how are we handling like the change in data and doing the indexing?
Yeah, so we've introduced a configurable refresh policy, so it's very easy for you to say, like, we're trying to stay on top of things so much, like with our internal service, that we're scraping once a day, which is probably overkill, really, but customers might start out at once a week, right, with their refresh, and it's really going to just depend on what their document churn is. But the bottom line is, it's really easy to keep those models current and using these RAG architectures to get value really quickly.
Yeah, it's not like you're having to train an entire model from scratch, I guess, on that update. So
you don't want to. Like, some of these open source foundation models are so good right out of the gate. Once you start feeding them your own private data for better context, then the results are pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and honestly, the other part of it, we were talking earlier about just VMware Cloud Foundation being the foundation of it. I have to imagine that it's almost like a cheat code, having all of this software that's been written for years, like vSphere and ESX, but just having that to be the core. I'm sure using DRS, for example, and having some HA that has to help, compare. I can't imagine having to rebuild all of this from scratch.
It takes customers weeks to stand a lot of this stuff up without us. And when you have your catalog, you have VCF automation. I can if I need an AI workstation, it's there. If I'm already trying to do some RAG apps and just have the VM templates, it's there. With our deep learning VMs, we're able to instantiate your entire namespace and container infrastructure at runtime with all the latest from NVIDIA NGC.
Yeah,
AI experts don't need to become Kubernetes experts. They don't need to become infrastructure experts.
And they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to. And even our integration with our model store, we're using the Hugging Face CLI, which is what they've been using. So it's just the native experience for them. That's what they're going to see working with us.
Yeah. I see RAG being a very common, good place to start, certainly but what do you see customers going, building beyond that in the future?
Yeah, no, there's still good AI use cases. There's one of our customers, they're using a computer vision app to understand customer idle time in front of their shelves. It's like if you're standing in front of a shelf for 2 minutes, you're probably trying to figure something out, right? Yeah. So what they're doing is they'll automatically dispatch an associate on the floor with that. And what they're doing is they're running everything right now they're running a lot of this on VX Rails in their stores, and they're looking at moving some of that to VCF. And in contrast, one of their competitors is trying to set everything to the cloud. When you're trying to send HD footage, right?
Video of every single aisle,
right?
You're
so
trying to watch everyone's face.
500 cameras, HD video. What do you think that's going to do to your POS traffic?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, why can't we why are we having problems at the checkout? Right. It's like you got to localize that, and that's why we're so relevant at the edge.
This is interesting because retail is the perfect example of this. Who they need to use video for a lot of reasons. And historically, they were very compute light on their branches. I mean, it was point of sale, an inventory system maybe, and that was it. I mean, some of these shops, they just have an AS400 hiding the quarter that was 15 years old, and that, was what it was. But the amount of compute that's getting brought in to do the video analysis is huge.
Yeah, it really is. But it's huge, but it doesn't have to be, insanely huge. Like the one retailer I mentioned, their inference, they're doing it on a pair of A100s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's... less probably power than that old AS400 the time forgot.
Yeah, so they didn't have to even reconfigure the power footprint of the store
or cooling for that back, room where that thing's sitting. So.
Yeah, I've been in the server room. It's basically a closet with some AC.
Right? Yeah, there's a mop bucket next.
Yeah, I mean it's not a big footprint for the entire store, and that's really high tech, AI in retail, and it's really impressive.
I like it. Yeah, you said complexity is good for profit, but just not for yours, right?
It's been my pet peeve for most of my career, and it's what I try to, when I talk with customers, clients, or whatever. It's like, hey, you're getting this advice from, say, this integrator. Whose interest is at heart there, right? Is it the interest of your business and simplifying your business and giving you better operations, or is it their desire to make every one of their customers their own snowflake?
Yeah.
Right. And there's an industry that's their business model, and that's why I am really passionate about VCF, because we're not telling people, we want you to spend any more money. We're saying we want you to shift money and be smarter about it and have a better integrated stack, and that's where you're going to see the value. You're gonna root out all that complexity. There's things you're gonna, your downtimes, all of that stuff, right? It gets so much easier when you go down this path.
Yeah. I love it. Well said, Chris. We're going to end it on that. Thank you so much for joining us on Virtually Speaking, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Have a great week, guys.
All right.